So we're joined by a very special guest, and it's none other than English correspondent that is in South America, Tim Vickery. Tim, how are you doing? How's the family? How
Yeah,
are
very well. Very well, thank you. And looking forward to kicking the ball around over the next few minutes.
things? Wonderful. Firstly, let's get right into it. The Women's World Cup. What is the mood like right now in Brazil based on the elimination from the World Cup?
Very, very, very bad. This is a disaster. And it really is. There is no positive spin that you can possibly put on this. Brazil invested a lot of resources and time in this. They had a complete process here. They brought in a highly rated and vastly experienced coach from Sweden. And they've been eliminated at the group phase for the first time since 1995. A massive, massive disappointment. I think verging on embarrassment as well. And if this was the men's team, it would be worse, just because the bar is set higher. You know, all of those 5 stars that they've got. But the idea that of being knocked out by Jamaica, a team who they've always beaten. You know, they beat 3-0 in the last World Cup. They had 90 minutes to score a goal and really didn't look like scoring a goal. They had the entire game, but in the first half they had some half chances, and in the second half, when the pressure's really on, they had nothing. So there's losing and there's losing, and this, even though they drew the game, was most definitely losing, not in style.
And Tim, for the decades that you've lived in Brazil, is this one of the lowest points in Brazilian football alongside the 7-1 of Germany and, of course, last year's disappointment?
Nothing yet that the women's game can do negatively is capable of competing with the negative thing of what the men's game do. It's just on a different level. The women's game is making its way. There was a time in the first few years of the century where Brazil were probably the best team in the world, but they kept falling at the final hurdle. That was all based on the spontaneous generation of talent. There was no planning, no organisation, no nothing. And very soon they were caught up and overtaken, and they've been off the pace for a while. This time was, I don't think victory was necessarily expected, but being candidates, especially in April when they went to England and got a very creditable draw with England, and they went to beat Germany in Germany, that gave them the impression that they were capable of going deep into the competition. And the first game was so impressive that at that point they thought, we are really candidates to win this thing. So it's a huge, huge disappointment. I'm not going to say it sets the women's game back, but I'm going to say it stops hurtling the women's game forward, because belatedly Brazil has invested in a league. And if you look at the Argentina and Colombia side, the Colombia side, which is now the South American sensation, there's a number of players in those leagues playing in Brazil. So the league is up and running. It's a consolidated concern. Different from the men's team, a number of players in Brazil's women's squad play in Brazil. So let's imagine that they'd won the tournament or ended a glorious campaign in, say, the semi-finals. That would have created a buzz and a feel-good vibe, and that would have encouraged people to go and watch these players in the stadiums on a weekly basis. That hasn't happened. So I'm not going to say that it's taken the women's game back, but this was a moment when the women's game expected to move forward, and it hasn't done so.
Just two more from my end, Tim. You know, being the neutral that you are from a Jamaican standpoint, we've spoken about Renee Simoes, we've spoken about Jamaica on the Brazilian Shirt podcast. Just for Jamaica, the moment, an island of 3 million people in the last 16, just your thoughts from a completely neutral standpoint.
Well, it's an unbelievable achievement. It's an extraordinary achievement, and the way that it's done. All right, through to the knockout phases, because they have defended so immaculately, and their defence against Brazil was quite superb. really superb. And they were maybe in the opening game against France, which was the big surprise result that has set them up for this. And had they lost that one, Brazil would have taken the field only needing a draw. The fact that Jamaica got a point against France, I think, is absolutely vital because it threw the pressure on Brazil. Brazil had to win, and the clock was tick, 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 ticking. But in the second half, when France began to turn the screw against Jamaica, Brazil were never able to. Jamaica, I honestly continually expected Brazil to score. I thought this, in the end, they'll wear Jamaica down, and they didn't. And really, in the second half, they never looked like doing so. So Jamaica defended with huge discipline on all of the back four did exceptionally well. It's not an exact parallel, but one could make a parallel between Jamaica and Morocco in the Men's World Cup in Qatar, where they made deep progress against good sides based on not conceding. So I think Jamaica are the Morocco of this World Cup, only with a much smaller population. And well, congratulations to Jamaica for because these are the children of the diaspora. They are perfectly entitled to represent Jamaica. I grew up in England with descendants of Jamaicans, and I'm very happy to see them wear two flags or however many flags you're capable of in a modern multicultural world. And it's been a terrific achievement because full credit to the coach, clearly got them gelling together. So congratulations to him for wielding them into a very, very effective unit.